automate dialog boxes. So if the dialog box is just a part of web application, then automation is the same way as the normal web element. You just make right-click, inspect, find the locator for the web element, and move forward. But if the dialog box is the part of the browser, the automation of this type of dialog boxes is a little bit tricky. And in this lesson, I will show you how to automate these types of dialog boxes and how to make assertion of the message on the dialog box. So let's get into it. So there are the two types of dialog boxes that you can deal with in the web applications. So let me show you first the dialog box of this type, which is a web dialog box. So if I click on any of this button, we see the window pops up on the page. Automating this type of dialog box is straightforward because it is part of the DOM. You just inspect the element, find the locator, and create locator and interact with this dialog box, clicking on the buttons and so on. So nothing special. But what can be tricky is the different types of dialog box. I go to the table, smart table page, and this is a table. And let's say if I want to delete the first row of this table and click on this trash bin icon, we see this type of dialog box, which does not belong to the web page. It belongs to the browser, and I cannot click on like inspect element or something like that. This is a browser message that you can either accept or cancel. And automation of this type of dialog box is a little bit trickier. So let me show you how to do that. Going back to the framework, and I will create a new test. So the very first thing, I need to navigate to our table page. So it's located in tables and data. And name of the page is smart table. Okay. Now let's find out the locator for this trash icon that we want to click. So I'll make a right click, inspect, and what we have here. So this trash icon has the class nbTrash, which we can select, but we can see that this icon also exists in all other rows for this table. So we need to identify this particular row, and then within this row, we need to find this nbTrash icon, and we can see that so TD is the table columns and TR are table rows. So TR is a tag for the table row, and usually table is located inside of the table tag. Here we go. So this is the table tag. Table tag has table head and table body, and table body we have table rows and table columns. So what we need to do is first identify the table, then find the first table row, and then within this table row, find nbTrash icon. So let's do this. Await page get by role. First we need to find a table. Then within this table, we want to find tr, which is table row, and this table row has text. And let's find some unique text about this table row, which is, I think, this email. If we take this email, it should be unique. So this one, and then once we identify the row, we can locate, locator, and this trash box icon, inspect, and this is a class nbTrash. .nbTrash and perform the click. All right, looks good. So let's run this test. Okay, I ran it, and I think you saw at the very little moment that something pops up but then disappeared, right? And also the row that we wanted to delete is not deleted. So let me run it one more time and you will see this dialog box. Yeah, you saw the dialog box and it disappeared. So what happens here, Playwright identifies automatically the dialog boxes like that, I mean dialog boxes of the browser, and by default it cancels this dialog box. So we cannot delete this row because Playwright simply canceled this dialog box. And we need to overcome this by accepting this dialog box. So how to do that? We need to create a listener using a method page on, and inside of this listener we're gonna listen for dialog event. And then what we will do with this dialog, first of all, we can of course make an assertion of this dialog. How to do that is just expect, then we call the dialog dot message method and assertion to equal, are you sure you want to delete? That was the message. And then we want to accept this dialog instead of canceling. So I'm calling dialog dot accept. And now let's run this one more time. Okay, and you saw this dialog popped up, but this time we don't see email that we wanted to delete. So we were locating this mdo@gmail.com as a first row, but as you can see, it does not exist anymore. And we have ID2 because ID1 was deleted. And I guess the last step that we can add into this test is just to make a validation that the first row of this table does not have an email that we have deleted. Await expect, and then I need to provide a locator for the first row. So let's make it simple. Page.locator will be table tr, and we want to find a first row and then make an assertion not to have text. And we expect that the first row will not have this email anymore. All right, and let's run this one more time. Okay, and I think this test passed successfully, right? Yeah, it's passed. Just 7 milliseconds to make a validation. Everything looks fine. All right, so let's quickly summarize what we did in this lesson. When you are dealing with dialog boxes, if this is a regular web dialog box, you automate it as usual. Inspect element, find the element, and interact with this. But if you are dealing with the browser dialog boxes, in order to accept it, you need to call page on dialog listener, and then inside of the dialog box, need to call dialog accept. Then Playwright will accept this dialog, and you will be able to move forward. All right, that's it, guys, and see you in the next lesson.